everybody, happy Sunday. Welcome to another chicken and garden update over here on Transport Evolved Take 2. I hope your weekend has been a good one. Things here have been pretty good this week. So in last week's chicken and garden update, I told you about the woe of my pump house. This pump house here, it is absolutely terrible and it needs to be upgraded. It needs to be torn down. It looks pretty bad inside, but the good news is that it's now pumping water. So someone came out, looked at it, and we think there was a capacitor in the controller for the well that was on its way out, and it was just enough that it decided to stop pumping water, and the water tank ran dry. So for those who don't know, we have two well pumps here, and I don't think I really covered it that well in the last video. So water is pumped from the ground by the pump that's inside the pump house, and from there it goes into this little thing here. This is the big holding tank that sits underground, and it kind of goes all the way up past that and back here. It holds about 2,000 gallons of water. 2,000 gallons of water, which is then pumped to the house using a secondary pump. The secondary pump lives under here, but rather than get pumped directly to the house from here, it actually gets pumped all the way back into the pump house where there's a storage tank that holds the pressure, and then from there all the way down the hill to the house. So that is, it's now working, and I watched over last weekend as it went from completely empty to, half full to 3/4 full, and then I checked this morning when filming it, and today is Wednesday, and it was full again. I've been a little careful about how much water I've been using on the garden, but it seems to be working and things are doing well. But hey, before I leave here, check out my tree. Gravenstein, I don't care how you refer to it, but we have some lovely apples growing on. This tree was not pruned last winter as I planned, so unfortunately it didn't, it's not as ready for the season as I would like it to be. But you know what? My cherry trees, this is one of my cherry trees, and it's not doing great. These are sour cherries here. And just like the sweet cherries down the way, they're not super happy. And I don't know why then they're not happy, but cherries seem to be really picky here. Here is one of my apple trees. This is an apple tree that has multiple different varieties on, and you can see the apples are all just going a little bonkers on there. And I suspect that we're going to have to remove some of the apples because I'm worried about the weight of the apples on the branches here. This is a very young tree. It's like only about 8-10 years old as I understand it, but as you can see, plenty of fruit. These branches are hugely overladen with them. Basically all the branches are, apart from this top one up here, which is not so much overladen. And then if we come over here, this is my other Gravenstein, I don't know what to call it anymore. This is also full of apples, and so I suspect this autumn we're just going to have a huge number of apples on this, which is just lovely. I like the apples. I like them very much, so I'm very excited about that. But like I say, my cherry tree does not look happy. If you are a cherry tree expert, please tell me, what am I doing wrong? My cherries are very unhappy indeed, and I don't see much in the way of cherries growing, so I'd love to know where I'm going wrong and what I'm doing wrong. Looks like there might be some bugs on the tree that I do not recognize, so maybe that's part of the issue. What we do have, though, we do have some ladybirds growing on all of the fruit trees. I guess they are growing, hatched and growing and hanging out, and then they'll go and eat aphids and all the other different things they like to eat, black fly, white fly. on various other things in the garden. So let's take a look at my tubs. As you may know, these are the volunteer parsnips from last year that haven't really done anything. Everything's doing well here. Things are growing slowly, but I'm going to start thinning these out soon. Same here, but check out all the parsnips. I like parsnips. I'm so glad that these are growing nicely. They're going to have some nice big chunky ones, and I'm sure they're going to basically grow down all the way down to the bottom of the tub. This one, if you are a gardener, you will recognise that this is in fact a potato. This is a volunteer potato from last year. I'm going to leave it for a while. I may pull it out. I haven't decided. Tell me whether you think I should pull out the potato or not. The lilac has gone for the year, which is sad. They're only in flower for a short while, but they are very pretty while they do the flowery thing. But you know what's also in flower right now? My potatoes. Check these out. We've got some lovely potatoes here. These are coming into flower, and so my earlies are gonna be ready pretty soon. The later crops, less so. They're growing a little bit more sedately. They're having a leisurely time of it. I'm okay with that. I need to put some more soil in, some more compost in, which I'm going to do a little bit later on, and I'm going to cheat. I'm going to bring my truck over and empty out the last of the compost that I have in that for later on. But this one, as you can see, is pretty much full. My goal is to grow enough potatoes so that we don't really have to rely that much on potatoes until much later in the year. So let's check out the greenhouse. Now, things in the greenhouse, you'll notice this is still the small greenhouse. Things in the greenhouse are doing really well. My tomatoes are, the remaining tomatoes are doing great. You'll find out what happened to the rest of the tomatoes in a minute. My geraniums are happy. It is growing season for the geraniums. Some of my cuttings, check that out. That is a beautiful, healthy cutting. Everything's doing well. We have multiple Pacific Northwest tree frogs that hang out in here. So if you see one, don't be alarmed. We've got these two guys here are lemon cucumbers. I gave some away the other day, but then the rest are pickling cucumbers. And then these are English style cucumbers because I miss English style cucumbers. My watermelons are growing nice and slowly, but that's fine. I've got a melon here that has decided to come up, which is lovely. My peppers are in flower and they are going to go into the greenhouse as soon as we have finished getting the greenhouse ready. And I'm walking in that direction because some cool things have happened. But first, check out my border. It's looking amazing. The sunflowers are coming up. I'm very happy to see those. I'm just going to skirt around Michael's car here. Michael is working today at the studio. It's our last day before we head off to LA. And it looks like my dogs took a poo in the garden, so I'm going to have to pick that up in a bit. But look, we have got one of these already planted up. Now, I know eventually we're going to put a greenhouse hoop over the top, but these tomatoes were getting pretty desperate to go into the ground. So we actually put them in the ground a little bit early, but you can see they are doing great. This one is just about coming into flower now. This one is flowering. Not too convinced about the colour of the bottom leaves on this one, but we'll see how it goes. These new top leaves seem a lot happier, so I'm not going to worry about it too much. Some of these tomatoes at this end are a little bit bothered about the cold, and they want the hoop over them. Hopefully we'll be able to do that this weekend, but as you can see, these other tomatoes are doing really well. And at this far end, we've got our tomatillos, and look, we have a tomatillo that is thinking about doing tomatillo things. Yay! Tomatillos are here, and then these are various different varieties of tomato. And you can see this here is a drip watering line. So rather than spray water, we're just letting water kind of drizzle into the into the bed, which is how we want to do it. Over here is what I did on Tuesday after we finished filming the Nissan Aria review. You can see all the soil. I haven't quite finished it yet, but this is the majority of 2.5 cubic yards of compost. This was completely empty yesterday that I basically put in here by hand last night with a shovel and a wheelbarrow. We were able to back the truck up to about here. You can see this is where we were offloading. I was able to back the truck up and offload the trailer first, and then back the truck up a little bit further and offload the truck. I don't know if I'm going to get to finish this before the weekend when you watch this, but this is what's left of the compost in the back of the truck, and it's really nice. Let's see if I can convince the bed to come down so you can see it a little better. It's really good quality stuff. It's nice and warm, and that's going to go in to form the bed for the cucumbers and also for peppers, which are going to go in here. We also have this, which is like a weed barrier. We'll be putting some, I don't know if we're going to do stone chips or wood chips or something, but we'll put some stuff, stones or wood chips even, down there. It also means we get to keep most of this compost over here, and that's going to be used just for making sure everything else is happy and gay, as it were. Let's talk about beans. Beans! So I apparently was not having a good day when I put these climbing trellises up. This one's really good. This one is terrible. I used different thread, and I wonder if that's part of the thing. I struggled to keep this one tight as I was winding it around. But this is for the beans to grow up, and you can see some of the beans have already started to grab on. Hopefully that means they'll be able to grow up and they will be happy. Over here we've got some bush beans. They are less worried about having things to climb up. But for some reason, these beans did not grow as happily as some of the other beans. I'm not going to complain. I'm just saying some of the beans like climbing and some of them don't. What does like climbing is my peas, which seem to be climbing at a fairly breakneck speed at the moment. They're coming up and they're doing amazing things. The thing I think is really hilarious is that the peas that are growing the best are the ones that have attached to the chicken wire. So maybe in the future I just need to put chicken wire everywhere, and that will be what things climb up. Who can say? The courgettes / zucchinis are doing well. I'm going to thin these out soon, I promise, because I don't want them to be overcrowded. But the butternut squashes and the other various pumpkins and whatnot seem to be doing well. Again, I need to thin out some of these pumpkins over here and make sure that everything is good, because we don't want overcrowded beds. Over here, I need to weed a little bit in between the raspberries, but the raspberries are coming into flower. If you look, these are a late variety of raspberries. We tend to get some flowers about now, but they don't really kind of kick into high gear until much later in the season when they've grown a bit, and then this will just be a mass with berries. Talking of which, my strawberries are coming on for the first time, and I think maybe next week, maybe the week after, I will be able to tell you about the first strawberries of the season. We're also getting really close to the end of the garlic growing season, and some of these garlics are starting to, the leaves are starting to die off, and when your leaves turn brown and they start to die off, that means it might soon be time to pull them up. I'm actually eyeing one right now, and I'm thinking, you know what? I think this one in the middle here might be ready. So, live on camera, is this one ready? Not quite. Let's have a look. This one might be a little bit early, but you know what? I'm curious. Let's see what it looks like. Yeah, this one's a bit early. So, that is a garlic. That's very early. I'm going to leave the others in a bit longer, but that will give us some very nice small flavours I might put that one back in. We'll see. Anyway, I know what? I'm going to keep it out because fresh garlic, small fresh garlic is very good. You're supposed to wait until the leaves are dying off and maybe it's put the scapes up. But you know what? That smells delightful. And considering this was much smaller when I put it in, I'm very happy. Check out the chickens. Some of them have been escaping again. It's mainly the youngsters, but they are all in today. And I think that some of my older hens are tempering the younger hens to the point that they're actually being quite nice to one another. And they're less likely to run around and be jerks, which is a good thing because the last thing you want is jerky chickens. I'm going to actually put the camera all the way up here because then you can see me saying goodbye, because it's always a lot easier to say goodbye when the camera is all the way up here. At least it is in theory, if it doesn't then come crashing towards me, which that's happened a couple of times. I've actually broken a GoPro by doing that, so let's hope I don't do that this time. I just noticed back on my truck it's got some scratch marks on it from my trailer. That's not cool. Nope, in fact that is definitely not cool. Those are scratch marks that I will have to look into removing in the future. I think that's probably from my wheelbarrow yesterday, actually. I have only myself to blame. Well, poo. Anyway, on that note, we are done with today's garden and chicken update. I hope that if you are growing some lovely things for your loved ones this year, you are having a similarly lovely time in the garden as usual. If you have comments, leave them below. You can leave them in the Discord chat room. You can reach out to us on Mastodon, or indeed you can leave Patreon comments if you are a Patreon supporter over there. If you want more, subscribe, hit the bell and follow the links below to regularly support us with a YouTube channel membership or a Patreon subscription. You'll also find links to our Ko-fi, Bitcoin and Swag store, as well as that aforementioned Mastodon server. Scrolling on my right-ish is the wonderful list of amazing charged up supporters, and shout outs go out to our V2G Patreon supporters. They are Pedro Mora Pinheiro, Alan Tupper, Andrew Martin, Bennett Elder, Brophy Wolf, Chris Maxwell, Cyprian Laplace, Dan Blair, Gordon C, Hey Asker, John Trammell, Carl Fox, Mark Eggleton, Peter Dillinger, Regine Fellows, Sean Tucker, Stefan Framgen, Stephen Williams, Tasla in the Gong, Paul Bricknell, Tony Moss, Carl Hodgson, Chris Asentar, Denny Hyde, Lance Schall, Linda Irish, Mike Weeder, Paul Nelson, and finally, big thanks to our off-grid supporters. They are Paul Conway, Kevin Burrowbridge, Stephen O'Donoghue, Jim Burness, Robert Flannery, Aaron Hahn, Ellery Hensley, Rory Litwin, JP Fagerback, Dave Kitchen, Andrew Glenn, Anonymous Freak, Chris and Michael Johnson, Clay Witt, CPU Freak 101, Eric Knack, Joe Bresney, Joe Hughes, John Henderson, Laura Reynolds, Marcel Ward, Matthew Drobnek, Nigel S, Reggie Watts, Will Graylin, and of course, Ian. Charlie has not crowed while I was reading the outro there. He normally does. Oh, he's too busy looking at ladies for lady fun time. Oh, it's all over. Chickens don't mess around. They just get the job done pretty quickly. Wham bam, thank you ma'am. Oh dear, I can't believe I just said that. I'll have to put a warning on this video now. Anyway, I'll be back next week with another chicken and garden update. Stick around for the Sunday music later on this channel, and I hope that the rest of your day is a wonderful one, as always. Keep evolving.